The neon glow of the strip faded behind him. Each step felt heavier than the last. John, name tag still pinned, just wanted to sleep. 8 hours of forced smiles had drained him. He reached the bus stop. A cold metal bench was his only solace. The desert night air held a chill that seeped into his bones. Above, the sky was a black void, stars snuffed out by the city's glare. The digital clock blinked 1 a.m. The streets were eerily quiet, the kind of silence that only the dead of night can bring. The world seemed to be holding its breath. A lone car sped past, its headlights briefly illuminating the scene. The car's engine roared, then faded, leaving the street in darkness once more. Darkness again. The silence was broken only by distant traffic and the occasional sigh of the wind, carrying whispers of forgotten stories. John pulled his thin jacket tighter, trying to ward off the creeping chill. The cold seeped into his soul, making him feel more alone than ever. He envied the people inside the convenience store, their lives awash in light and warmth. They seemed so distant, like figures in a painting he could never touch. They were tethered to something while he felt adrift. The sense of detachment was overwhelming, as if he were a ghost in a world that no longer recognized him. A gnawing anxiety stirred in his stomach, a familiar feeling. The night amplified his fears, making them loom larger. He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself, but the unease only grew. 2 figures occupied the bench. A woman in a stained cocktail dress stared blankly ahead. Beside her, a man in a crumpled suit clutched a briefcase, eyes closed. John tried to make eye contact, offering a weary smile, but she didn't react. Her gaze remained fixed on a distant point. The man seemed lost in his own world, gripping his briefcase tighter. Section 4, a glitch in the Matrix. The bus was late. Streetlights cast eerie shadows and the silence was deafening. The occasional rustle of leaves or distant hum of a car engine only added to the unsettling atmosphere. The delay amplified John's unease. He shifted nervously, glancing around. The empty streets stretched endlessly, and the darkness felt thicker than usual. He pulled out his phone. No signal. The lack of connection made him feel even more isolated, cut off from the world. He tried to refresh the signal, but it was futile. He shoved it back into his pocket, feeling isolated. The night pressed in, and he couldn't shake the sensation of being watched. Every shadow seemed to move, every sound amplified. Then he noticed it, a subtle distortion in the air, a shimmering heat haze out of place in the cool night. Reality seemed to bend and warp. He blinked, unsure if it was real or a trick of his mind. He rubbed his eyes, but the vision persisted. The distortion pulsed and shifted, almost alive. It pulsed faintly, growing and contracting like a living entity. A chill ran down John's spine. Was this a glitch in the Matrix, or was his mind playing tricks? One thing was certain, this night was far from ordinary. Section 5. Whispers on the Wind. A whisper on the breeze reached John's ears. The tone sent shivers down his spine. It seemed to come from the woman, though her lips didn't move. The hair on John's neck stood on end. He wanted to run, but his feet felt rooted. Fear gripped him. Section 6. Vanishing Act. The whisper morphed into a guttural growl. The light above the woman's head pulsed, illuminating her grotesque smile. John watched in terror as the man beside her began to dissolve. His form wavered, parts disappearing and reappearing rapidly. A strangled cry escaped John, but they didn't acknowledge him. They were lost in a terrifying tableau beyond John's comprehension. Section 7. Never Look Back. Suddenly it stopped. The night was silent, the distant hum of city lights the only sound. The air was thick with tension, as if the world held its breath. The growls ceased, the distortion vanished. The woman's face, once filled with fear, now seemed hollow, drained of life. She stood motionless, rooted by an unseen force. The man beside her was gone. John, heart-pounding, scrambled to his feet and ran. No time to think, only to escape. His legs felt like lead, but he pushed on, driven by instinct. He didn't look back. The fear of what might be behind him was too great. Every shadow moved, every sound amplified. The night was alive with unseen dangers. The memory of the bus stop, the woman, and the disappearing man played over and over in his mind. The terror in the woman's eyes, the man vanishing into thin air. He would never forget the terror in that desolate place in the cold, dark hours before dawn. The feeling of being hunted by something unseen would haunt him forever. The night seemed endless, but he had to keep moving to find safety before dawn.